anyone is willing to either unmute yourself or put into the chat what level you're hoping to show in the future, I'd appreciate that. If I could just give you like a moment to try to let me know, that's helpful for us going forward. If you just want to do schooling shows or GMO shows for your state, that's helpful. Or if you want to do regional or national shows. So thank you for filling this in the chat. And I will definitely catalog this so we look into this going forward. And just so you know, riders and support crew, please let me know as you see fit within the chat room or unmute yourselves so that I know and I can answer your questions going forward. Okay. Great. Okay. Very good. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay. So some of what we want to think about is how we go forward is what we need to do to make the things feel easy as we move forward within showing. So we want to look into proper preparation prevents poor performance. So we want to make sure you all feel prepared. So are each of you thinking about a realistic goal that is safe? Thinking about the steps you need to attain your goals? Thinking about what you need to do to think about what gets into your head when you're thinking about what you want to do, a timeline that makes sense for yourself and your families, know it's okay to change your goals, and know it's okay if you've learned versus just like winning versus scores and ribbons. So I hope everyone does not focus just on the ribbons and the scores, but think more so about the long-term progress for yourself and your horse. Okay, so what are some things that are different in Western dressage versus dressage? So you may use your voice. You may sit in the free jog. You don't need a noseband or a throat latch. You don't need a bit. You can use a bitless bridle. You can use varying reins. You may use boots as long as they match the natural coloring of your horse's legs. So if you have a bay, like they need to be black. You may use polo wraps that also match your horse's colorings. And but you do have to drop the bit for tack checks. So that's a little bit different, like having to come out and completely drop the bridle. So there's some things that are different about what is legal and what is not legal, especially in the bits. There's a lot more consideration for bits in Western dressage versus dressage. So for example, the hackamore, it's not legal in dressage for sure, but in Western dressage, it's very normal and acceptable. And the Basel is also very much so allowed. So some things to think about in your home barn, riding around through test movements and ride through the test at home. Consider volunteering at a show before going to a show if you're concerned. And consider your warm up at the show. I would encourage each of you to enter a test that feels easy to you and to bring help to the show. So at this time, does anyone have any questions or thoughts that they would like to bring up for discussion? Like especially some of you that are newer to show or your children are newer to enter the showing arena.
How do you decide what tests you should ride?
Okay, that's fair. So in terms of deciding what test to ride, what level are you schooling? So whoever just asked that question, just tell me what level you're schooling. Sorry, my dogs are here.
Sorry, that was Sarah. I was just asking for good, but I'm schooling, let's say I'm schooling third level this year.
Okay, so sorry, Sarah, say that again.
I'm schooling third level this year.
You're schooling third level and you are showing at second level distantly or working just showing, sorry, my dogs are attacking Alice right now. Okay. Can you hear that at all? Oh, okay. Guys. So when considering which level to show, I think if you're schooling third level, I personally choose to show down 1 to 2 levels. At times I show at the level that I'm currently schooling, but if I have the opportunity to show down a level or 2, I feel more confident. So when I'm schooling third level, I want to be competitive at first and second level, or level 1 and level 2 for Western dressage. But that's a good question, Sarah. Okay, can everyone hear us? Can we hear Alice? I just got her over here. My dogs are still minorly attacking her. No, couldn't they hear us?
No,
I hear you. I couldn't hear Alice.
Okay,
no, I can't,
we'll work up to that. Oh, that's different one. Put it back in and then tilt it forward. There we go. Oh, I think it's a little too high. How about that? How about now, Sarah?
no, I still can't hear. Guys.
I take this out.
Okay, I could hear her speaking just then.
Okay, I think I'm just gonna put everything on the audio and hope the dogs don't ruin it. How about now? Can you hear me and Alice? Sarah?
I can hear you, Alice.
Sarah?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna take all that out. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so, I think, could everyone hear what I was saying? Yeah, okay, I see some heads nodding. And I think, so even with the young horses in the beginning, like what I consider for the young horse in the beginning, do I have the support I need to feel confident taking the horse out? And we're gonna keep working through that, okay? All right. Go ahead, Alice.
There are several ways you can show without leaving home. There are a lot of online ones you can do now, both Western and classic dressage. This is one that I've used in the past. It's pretty straightforward and not terribly expensive, and they end up with pretty good judges. So it's very useful as a bridge.
And they support PAWDA too. A lot of these online shows do support our local state Western Dressage Association.
Once you're ready to show, what you want to do is pick a local close show. If your horse hasn't been to a show, it's a very good idea to take a field trip first take him to the location, even if you don't get on the first time there, it depends how they behave. Your local show is much less atmosphere. You want to pick where you go as something that's amateur friendly, horse friendly, and then move up to something that maybe has 2 rings instead of 1. Then go to a show that you haven't been to as a field trip first, and just keep adding things as you go along. You might get away with going to a big show the first time out, but it's probably not a really good decision. If you're going to a championships, it would be great if you get to go to a show that's not the championship of the same location before you go to the championships, because those are big.
Yeah, just the venues are larger and can be harder for the horses. So if you can get the horse there to a smaller show before you have your champ show, that's better. But sometimes we can't, right? So again, we're open to your questions about the venues. If you want to go to the world show, like how do you get there? How do you prep your horse for the world show? Like totally fine. Just let us know that's your question, and then we'll give you some extra attention there.
How do you pick what like local shows? I mean, we have selection of schooling shows and some recognized shows. What kinds of things do you think about when you're picking a show?
So for me, I think about like what venues the horse prefers. So if I have a horse that's more sensitive, I don't go to the venues with the smaller warm-up arenas where the horses are going to be a little bit hotter. Or if I have a horse that I know prefers to be outside versus inside, I won't show them in the venues where they're going to be undercover. So I just think about the venue and how I know my horse. And also for me, it's a fair consideration. And even though I'm a professional, like if my coach is going to be there or not. So if you're an amateur or if you have a child, seriously consider if your coach is going to be there. And like that is impactful to me.
We have a few questions in the chat
Yeah.
specifically about World Show. How does it work if you use a hauler to take your horse to World Show? And then somebody asking about more about information about preparation for the World Show.
Okay, so if you use a hauler to take your horse to the world show, I recommend having your horse get there at least a day before the world show starts. So you have time to acclimate your horse to the environment and acclimate yourself and give your horse rest time. Especially, so if you're coming, like going to the world show, are you coming from Pennsylvania or, because I know one of the ladies we talked to earlier, she's from not Pennsylvania. So it's sort of, you got to consider. And for me, if they're hauling more than 10 hours, like I don't haul them more than 10 hours and then ride them that same day. And I consider how much I'm going to ride them the next day. So if I'm hauling them more than 20 hours, like I rest them that day. So I get to the show a day before and rest them, and then I will ride them after. But those horses are like pretty schooled. And I also make sure I'm there to receive them. Like I don't have someone else receiving the horses if I have to have them shipped, if I can't drive them. But if I'm driving them, like I will drive them the 2 days and then I rest them and I hand walk them and I walk them around the arenas and then I ride them the next day and then I show them the next day. So I get to the horse show basically 2 days before it starts for the world show. Does that answer your question? Like if I have a hauler, that's where I would want them dropped off. Okay. And Krista, for more prep about how to prep for the world show, like I would go to, I would backdate off the world show. Like I would look at that date and say approximately every 2 to 3 weeks, I want to be showing that horse. And I want to get them in front of in front of Western dressage judges or just dressage judges. I don't know how to get that off. I'm gonna leave that. So I just keep backtracking off of that. And when I go to the world show, I look at the buckle criteria and I look at what needs to happen for the buckle criteria. And those are the tests I choose to show. And then I think about the freestyles within that, but I would also recommend you show a freestyle. And if you have more questions there, like, please let me know.
Another question we have, what about getting your stuff there, feed, etc.? I guess if you were to use a hauler, how do you get your stuff there?
So like I would recommend driving it so I know it goes there, but if I have a hauler that has to go there and they won't ship it for me, would drive it myself. If the hauler will haul it for you, you need to package it per meal per day. So it would be your AM feed and your evening feed, and you bag it and you label it. And then you package everything and label it for the feed. And that's how you get it there. But the shippers won't often have a ton of room to ship extra stuff for you. So likely you're gonna have to drive it yourself.
How do you find a coach at a show, especially for the larger shows?
I want you to use your same coach and figure out how to work with them virtually. So it's very easy to figure out how to get them on FaceTime, or Facebook Messenger, or what's the green one called? Um, there's
Just texting. Oh, WhatsApp?
WhatsApp. Like it's pretty easy to log on to that live and have your regular coach be able to warm you up. So I would encourage you for the larger shows to work with what is familiar and figure out how to do it virtually. And Julie, if that doesn't make sense, like contact me outside of this. I can give you my info and like give you some pointers about how to do that because I've gotten very good at doing that virtually.
That's really good advice. Thank you. Appreciate it.
How do you find local shows and schooling shows?
Okay. So if for local shows, I would look at your GMO sites, depending on where you are. And if you want to drop where you are in this chat box, we can try to help you find out where to go locally. And then also on the WDAA site, it will link out WDAA shows and or USEF shows. And Sarah's going to help me with that.
Yeah, so I'll put in the chat, Western PA, most, if you're looking for just like a schooling show that's not Western dressage, necessarily rated, I'll give you information on how to get those shows. And then the Western dressage ones, I can also give you that information. If you're part of PAWDA, in the newsletters I send out, I always include all the regions recognized shows in the area. So you have that information too, but I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. That's a good one. Especially in that part of the state. Our state is so big in Pennsylvania. So we're trying to make sure we are more cohesive. So thank you for joining today and bringing this up so we can try to connect with you more often. Okay. Is everyone okay with if we move on here? Okay. Go ahead, Alice.
Once you've decided you're going to compete, it's a whole lot of paperwork. The first set of paperwork gets you into the show. The second set of paperwork is the one that's going to get you qualified for things. But you need to do it all. You need to do it carefully. And most of the stuff you do online now, very little of it is the old way of you mailed it on the opening date. Almost all of it is online. And some of the shows won't take mailed things or hand delivered things any longer. They will only take electronic. Yeah. The main thing with your paperwork is you need to be very sure that the name on the paperwork matches your horse's show name. If your Coggins test or your flu rhino vaccine stuff has his barn name on it, you're going to have a problem. So you need to be sure that it all matches. You need to be sure that the expiration date is within the requirements. You need a copy of it, preferably both a hard copy and something on your cell phone or online. And if you're going especially out of state, you need health certificates, especially to the bigger shows. For the memberships, there's a large variety of things. The ones that you have to do in order to qualify for either the Western or the Classic Dressage. There's Safe Sport for the USEF. You need to declare if you're an amateur or a professional. You need to declare if you're an aged amateur with an age group. Your horse needs to be registered. There is an entry level of that where you're not qualifying for things and you escape some of the paperwork, but you still are required to follow all of the rules and you are liable for drug testing. This is one of the things of one of my horses from 2022, and the way I kept track of it all was I had the date, the show, opening and closing date, the judge, and the 2 tests that he entered. Especially if you have a lot of shows or more than one horse, this keeps you somewhat on track.
So OD is opening date, CD is closing date, and TACA 1, TACA 2, like that horse did 2 tests a day for the most part. So that's a good way to track things.
And you also need to know that in some of your requirements, you'll have to have a certain number of shows and a certain number of different judges, which was the reason I had the judges listed. That was the result sheet, which got fairly complicated because the horse was showing at 2 levels and both levels had freestyle, and he did quite a lot that year. But the colored stuff at the bottom tells me whether he's qualified for regional championships or year-end awards. And then there was a block that said how many he needed to be qualified for it.
Check this real quick.
A lot of your GMOs for the classic dressage also have Western dressage classes, so you can find some of those shows through the USDF.
Right. But unfortunately, right now, we can't look up scores like we can for USDF. Especially for like recognized shows. There's no sort of score certification verification unless you go through USEF and look at the shows for each one. But unfortunately, it's not the same right now. Oh, okay. So there are local organizations to look into when you want to show. So for example, PAWDA or any of your local GMOs are also in general offering awards, year-end awards for your Western dressage. So I would consider encouraging you to join before showing, or if you want to join after, that's fine too, but just know what the rules are. So you can join your GMO. For us, it's GVCTA. There's IEO in Harrisburg, and I know there's many others in the western part of the state. And also joining PAWDA and joining and participating in our awards program. We do have volunteer requirements for most of the clubs, if not all of the clubs, I think. And it's approximately 8 hours, but it's pretty easy to earn your volunteer hours through helping out on different committees and submitting the scores by a due date. So that will vary depending on the club. And I'm going to continue to write down what you guys are doing, and then we can do another one looking forward with what needs to happen for the different groups you all are a part of. Whether it's a local GMO or PAWDA or WDAA, because those score requirements are changing a bit year by year.
You also have to be aware that some of the organizations allow you to join fairly close to the end of the year and everything is retroactive. Other organizations, it doesn't count until you've joined. So you need to be sure that if you need to join before your first show, that you've actually done it.
Right. And in general, I think I tend to trend towards the ones that don't make me have to join in the beginning, but I understand those that are there, but I'm not sure.
It depends on the organization.
It
Some
does
of them are
depend.
retroactive and some of them give you a cutoff date. Some
Yeah.
of them you can join on the next to last day and everything counts.
Yeah,
Some of them, if you haven't joined before the first show, it doesn't count.
right.
And it's very specific to the organization.
Yeah. So I think just if you have a question about the breed of your horse or the discipline you're doing, ask that question and let's try to figure out what you need specifically.
It's always with someone.
Okay. Okay, and I think just coming back a little bit to the beginning, like try to set a goal you want to do. And if you want to go to the World Show, I think I want your info so I can talk to you personally after this. And then break it down into small steps. And remember that big things are not achieved at one time. So I think that's what I love about horses is that we can like break it down one little piece at a time to build the confidence.
And
And-
adjust.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
readjust.
there's so much adjusting. And I think as you develop like your competition calendar moving forward, like it gives you an opportunity to say, okay, I need to shift this a little bit. I need to train more and not show, or I need to show more and maybe I'm not going to level up right now, but figure that out piece by piece. And hopefully enjoy the journey. And that was one thing like I really loved about the World Show. It's one of the most fun shows I've ever competed in. It was a blast for me and for my horses, and I love the venue. And it was a long drive away from Pennsylvania. But if you're interested in it, like I would encourage you to do it. And I want to help you get there. So short range failures, consider them learning opportunities and like, let's go get it. And that was us at the World Show.
We have a question in the chat. Somebody, I have been looking for a comfort style of head stall that would be acceptable in WDAA.
Okay. Let me write that down. It's in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, Julie. Okay, Julie, I think I'm gonna have to refer that out. Because those are not like largely illegal. And Gabby's not on here, right?
No, Lynn is. I don't know if Lynn has any idea.
Okay,
It's not
Lynn,
that.
would you be willing to jump in here?
Do you have a Western one with the US?
I gotta unmute. Now I'm unmuted, kids.
You're good, you're good.
You don't want to see me in living color though. And what was the question? I'm sorry.
Okay, a comfort style head stall that's legal.
I don't know what a comfort style head stall is. Pretty much, there are very few head stalls that are illegal from a head stall perspective. You don't have to have a nose band. You don't have to have a brow band. You don't have to have the chin strap. Like there's so many options. It's wide open. So I don't know how to recommend the comfort head stall.
So is there a particular brand, Julie, that you're working with?
So, I had looked at I think it's like a Micklem,
Yeah,
or, it's more cushioned over the pole is what my goal is.
okay,
Ah, okay.
But I know that it has, a different angled noseband, but it takes the pressure away from, the nerves, right? And, but when I read through the rules, it has to have a Western appearance to it.
yeah,
So I think that it would not be a legal head stall, even though they're quite, it doesn't really look real Westerny, right? I think I'd be afraid they'd say, oh, it looks too English.
right, okay, so, I'm gonna put my email in here, and if you can email me the picture of what you have.
Okay. I also tried was it Total Saddle Fit Easy or the Better Bridle, and that one just didn't fit right. So,
So email me the picture of what you have, but the Micklem is not Western enough.
right.
Now it's Lynn again. I'm gonna jump in for a second. Sometimes you can take a bridle, it's not gonna work on that. But if you have something that's close and you change out the buckles to make them more Westerny, it can
Yeah.
make your bridle look more Westerny.
Right? Yeah, you're right, Lynn, you're right.
We had a situation like that where we just had to put little conchos on the side of the Arabian head stall to make it look, and we had the, we had the
Yeah,
steward look at it.
part that sometimes can make it look.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay, I just didn't know if anybody else had come across a nice headstall that was, cushioned over the pole and was avoiding, where,
So,
the nerve.
A bit what I've done is over the pole is I put some pole release like pads. And that can work too for those horses that are more sensitive over the top there.
I think I saw in the new, because there's in some of the rules where they're saying it has to be one continuous piece
Yes,
and over the pole.
but make sure you're not confusing that with USDF rules.
Okay. I agree. I think that is the USDF that's saying that. I didn't know if WDAA was going to follow suit.
The in Western dressage, they're not getting the braking. There's like pieces where it's like two separate pieces on either side of the pole that's coming through in USDF. And right now we're not seeing that in Western dressage. I'm not saying it's not going to get there, but it's not there right now.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
We have a good question from it says I'm confused just starting to show, and this is confusing. I'm in South Central PA. Is there another organization that I have to join in addition to PAWDA?
So Georgia, what shows do you want to do this year or in the future?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fair.
Good
I
answer.
signed up. Now I signed up. I went last year to the show that was in Dillsburg.
Great. Okay.
I only did one test because I didn't know that you could do more than one.
Okay.
And I did the intro level 1 or test 1.
Yeah.
So then there were other people there who were riding like 4 tests, doing them all at once
Yeah.
for the whole level. I was like, oh, gee, I should have done that. So now I've got a different horse now because
Okay.
I've had all kinds of problems. I had to put my horse down and whatnot. But Anyway, so I just signed up for all 4 of the intro tests to do them. And I thought, well, I'll just do what I can. Just do however good my horse will do, and
Okay.
try and take the evaluation and roll with it. But you were talking earlier about belonging to different organizations and doing volunteer hours and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know anything about any of that. I didn't know, is that a requirement? Like, am I supposed to have a local chapter of something? I thought just, I only know about the PAWDA, the Pennsylvania Western Dressage Association.
And Georgia, I think that's great. And we really appreciate you like joining and continuing to enter the shows. So for right now, there isn't like a big requirement for that, but in general, we hope that people become more involved to not only understand more about what happens within the clubs, but also so they have a better understanding about how to help the club moving forward. But I also think, so did you sign up for like intro 1 through 4 for the most recent show coming up?
The one in April, yes.
Okay.
And
Right.
it's getting held down in Maryland about an hour away, so
Yeah.
I
Good.
thought that was pretty doable.
Okay. So one thing we might want to consider having you do, and I'm gonna write your name down, and have Sarah and I are gonna get in contact with you. But we might want to consider having you do only like 2 to 3 tests a day, and then maybe doing the clinic with the judge that day.
Oh, I signed up for that too.
You just sign up for that too?
'Cause
Okay,
last year I signed up for the group lessons
yeah,
and it was very helpful,
right?
very
Yeah,
helpful.
Julie was good, right?
Yeah, and I learned just as much from what she was showing the other people in my group as I did of what she was directly helping me with. I learned about things that, they were dealing with more advanced issues, and I haven't even gotten to that yet, but now I know what to do when I get there.
Well, that's great. That
I
just
hope I
helps me you're
remember.
like
So.
a really good student, which is amazing. And
Well,
we appreciate that.
I
So
just,
maybe we talk about you doing like maybe 1 test less that day. So you're doing a max of 3 tests and then doing your clinic just to like save your horse and give yourself some room to like preserve yourself. And right now there's no like required volunteer hours. But in some GMOs, there is a requirement of having people volunteer within the club just so that there's participation like for people in the club. But I think we have room to wait until like the club is more established for you specifically.
and what club is that?
Basically any other USDF club, but you're not in a USDF club, you're in a WDAA club.
Yeah, so I think it's confusing because there's Western dressage and then there's classical dressage. And they're 2 separate disciplines and they have 2 separate club programs, but there is crossover. So I think that's what we were talking about with the awards. There are other awards programs and other shows that you can go to that are not necessarily PAWDA that still offer Western dressage tests, Western dressage awards, but they may not have a Western dressage judge. So they're not necessarily a Western dressage recognized show. They might have a tradition, like a classical dressage judge, but still offer Western classes. So for you in your area, if you're looking to get out there and show just to get out there, IEO would probably be in your area. They have a lot of shows at Diamond 7.
What does that stand for?
I don't even know.
Let me look it up real quick while you're
International equestrian.
it's a USDF
So
Uh,
it's,
GMO, a GMO means group member organization that's a part of the National Federation of Dressage. It's the International Equestrian Organization, but it's in central Pennsylvania, and they do accept Western dressage riders. I know that for sure.
They've been around.
Okay,
and it's not affiliated with PAWDA, and it's not necessarily affiliated with the Western Dressage Association. But there, right now, there's not a ton of Western shows. And for people, such, I mean, even for myself, I want to get out there. I show sometimes at schooling shows, dressage, regular traditional dressage schooling shows. I show Western classes so I can get out there and get experience and get myself in front of a judge, even if
Okay.
it's not a Western dressage judge.
Right,
So-
and
that's,
like Sarah,
that's what I,
you've gone and shown Western in these like LVDA shows.
Yes, very
Yes.
frequently. So IEO, I know, has quite a few Western riders that show in their in the Western classes there, and it's often a dressage judge, but the training is very similar. And it might be something to consider getting yourself out there. If you want to show more than like PAWDA this year, we're offering 2 shows. But if you want to get yourself out there more, that's why we're mentioning these other organizations that are not affiliated with PAWDA or Western Dressage. Because we know, especially as we're growing the sport, and for me, I'm in Allentown area. There's not always been, I've been doing this like maybe 4 years, so Western dressage, and there's not always been shows for me in Western, or maybe there's like a couple a year. Now it's getting more and more. So none of that's a requirement, and there's no requirement to even be a member of these organizations to show at their shows. Even the PAWDA shows, you're not required to be a member to show. But we just want you to have that information. So if you're interested, not only do they offer shows, but they often offer clinics or education programs as well. And there's such crossover that I have found it very beneficial. I do a lot of the classical dressage education programs because it's so similar.
yeah, and I was actually taking lessons from a classical dressage instructor, because there aren't any Western dressage
Right.
instructors here, so.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I had a question though. You said, as at the test coming up, just do 3 tests instead of 4. Is that, you said something about, is that because of the horse's mental tolerance or physical tolerance? Cause,
In general, a little bit per the discipline, we tend to not encourage people to do more than 2 to 3 tests a day.
okay,
That's just a little bit of a dressage thing where we say, and for both, I think, Georgia, like for your mental capacity and the horse's mental capacity, and especially because I would like you to participate in the clinic, like if you have the energy to do it. But I think it could give you the energy to do it if you only do 2 to 3 tests a day.
oh, yeah, my horse has no end to the energy though,
Boundless
so.
energy, that's great.
Yeah, she's a Rocky Mountain horse, and she should be doing endurance instead of this, but
Oh no,
um,
that's great for dressage. They need to be forward. We love energy in dressage, right?
I didn't, but she has too much stamina. That's the problem.
That's fair. That's good
There's
though.
no end to it.
So you're a lady that's gonna move through the levels if we can get you the support, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Sarah,
And
could you,
and I'm not even doing this to get ribbons or medals or anything. I was just using the dressage levels as a goal to become a better rider.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, me too.
I'm older. I just started taking lessons at 55. So so that's really the only reason so I'm not really interested in the test going all over the country and, showing as far as that goes for,
Right.
the scope of the medals or ribbons or whatever, or standings on it, I just want to get comfortable with the correct way to ride to get and advance up the levels as I go, hopefully.
Right.
And
Well, yeah. And I also think that's why the 2 to 3 tests like could be better for you, because you're gonna crave it a little bit more. So if we like leave it there and you get the feedback and then you think about it and then you go back out again, hopefully like next week or within 2 weeks.
yeah, okay. So yeah, that's good. That's good because I get it now because there won't be so many different inputs to process.
Right.
or feedback.
Exactly. Yes. Very good.
So
And
Lauren,
I'll
it-
put in the chat the IEO information. That's a local organization that offers schooling shows in your area. I think if you're in central Pennsylvania, they're in the Harrisburg
Excellent.
area.
Yes, I know where Dillsburg is. I have friends that live there. And so that'll be
They
perfect.
offer, and they usually have good judges. So I know you would have no problem sitting in front of or riding in front of their judges.
Okay.
So Lauren, this is Lynn. Love the conversation going on here. And I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback. I just bought a 4-year-old.
Okay.
So I'm scratch beginning, out. So in New Jersey, we don't have a Western dressage club. That's why we're part of PAWDA, right?
Yeah.
So
Thank
appreciative.
you.
But
Yeah,
there's
thank you.
also not a boatload of horse shows around. Now,
Yeah.
I and my students, we do not go to classical dressage horse shows to get feedback from non-Western dressage riders.
Agree.
We've made a change strategy-wise and money-wise. Okay. If I'm going to go to a show, I want to get something out of it from a Western dressage certified judge. Okay.
Right.
So what I chose to do this year is my initial goal is I'm going to do a virtual series. Okay.
Okay.
And virtual, shoot it in your own backyard, right? So I don't have to haul, I don't have to show, I don't have to, I don't have to get all that crazy stuff, right? But there's a series. Now, some of the other clubs, I know PAWDA is still small, but some of the other organizations, state clubs, you can join them and join their virtual program. So my plan is to compete in the Florida virtual program. There's 5 shows in the series. I can also work through them or through you. So my initial goal is to try to win intro in the virtual series. My stretch goal is to try to get my bronze medal and move to basic off of intro. So I have big stretch goals, but I've decided not to do the local stuff because I just don't like the feedback from the classical dressage judges. Also, if I pay for a virtual show, I'm going to get points, lifetime points for my horse. So that's the strategy I've had. Now, but there's a local horse show club here that only has classical dressage judges, but they offer a Western dressage belt buckle for the championship for the year. So that's my stretch goal. So those are all the things I'm trying to juggle, as opposed to traveling just because there aren't shows around. So, I've been through the local show series for the last couple of years, and I just decided to back out and say, and I'm going to focus on getting real feedback from real judges. I know classical judges give good feedback, but they don't give feedback like a Western dressage judge does. So that's just my opinion. So that's my strategy for the year.
Yeah, and I think that's great. But I also just want to make sure, especially people in the area aren't discrediting judges like myself that are classical and Western dressage judges. Because there are a lot of us out here that are double carded in classical and Western. So I also think maybe we need to teach people how to look up how people are carded.
Exactly, because that's what I do. Before I go to a show, I go look up the card. If it's a double carded judge, I'm gone. I'm there, even if they don't have a WDAA approval, because not all shows go do that. You know, a lot of the smaller classical clubs don't go get a WDAA approval for their show.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. And I think we also, just to give people on the smaller scale too, like just the opportunity to know what they're in for. And I think that's the bigger thing we're hoping to do with these online things, is like, how do you know what your judge is? And I think I want people to know how to look up who their judges are and like how they've earned their licenses or what sort of riding they've done. And I think that's important personally, like for the riders to see the transcripts of the judges. So I think you bring up a good point there. And I think we can continue to talk about that. And I will definitely write that down for something to continue to talk about in the future, to try to bring about to the people that are interested in competing, right? That's a good one. Thank you. And could you also like, do you feel like it's been harder um with lower level judges, or are you not sure? Like with the feedback from the judges, like L's versus like a recognized judge for dressage that's not been giving valid feedback?
Well, let me say,
Dressage?
the local judges that I've been around, they tolerate a quarter horse show pleasure job, which is not Western dressage. No way, no how. They
So what level are they though?
they're intro and basic, but the horses,
No, sorry, what level is the judge? I'm
the
saying.
judge is not, they're L and
Sure.
well, I've had an S, I've had O's, I've had big R. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But what I'm seeing is, like, if you go to the 4-H state finals in New Jersey, they're moving at 0.0002 miles an hour. Their heads are too low. It's just not right. But I'm working trying to fix that. I'm trying to work with the 4-H organization here to fix it. So what I'm going to say is I've had positives and negatives. But
Okay.
for me, the reason I'm kind of swaying over to the virtual is there's no hassle with it. I'm in my backyard. My friend is doing the video. If it doesn't work today, I ride again tomorrow. Like, there's so, for beginners, it's such a phenomenal option.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Yeah, good. But, and then the other part of me that thinks it's bad is that like the takeover, I'm not sure. I always feel like that is completely fair.
No, I'm not going to say that you always get bad feedback. Okay.
No, that's not what I mean. I just mean like, if you have a bad ride, you get to do it again. Like sometimes I think it's okay to like commit to your ride. And
I
with
don't
the virtual shows, you get to like ride again.
I don't disagree with that. For beginner, there's a million times you said, man, I'd like to ride my ride over.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so for me, like, it gives great options in my mind, as opposed to, you know, I think I'm tired of up at dark 30 hauling, waiting,
Yeah.
yada, yada. You know, here I am in my backyard, and 10 o'clock, I shoot a video, and 11 o'clock, I'm done.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the
You
thing
need to
about it
write your own
is,
time.
when you go and you work with an organization, right, and you know that the judge is an R, a WDAAR, you know, a Western dressage R, you know you're going to get legit feedback, and that's really what you need. So that's where my head is at.
Okay. Okay, Georgia, does that make sense to you, or does that feel okay to you?
Yeah, I'm kind of baffled by all the alphabets, the letters, but yeah, I don't even have a place to film here though at my barn, so I board, I don't have my own place, so I would still have to haul somewhere and rent an arena to film a test.
Let me help you
Um,
out with this a little bit, okay? You could probably clear an area. I have judged a lot of virtual shows. People plow the grass in the size of an arena, put a bunch of cinder blocks out with letters on them. I mean, it doesn't have to be quote unquote a gigantic arena.
No, but it has to be level, and it has to be at least the size of the small dressage court, right?
Right,
Like
but
that's from what I understand, from what I read, it has
absolutely.
like a full size is 120 meters, and the half size or
A
the
20
smaller
by
size.
40 meter.
20 by 60 is the Olympic, 20 by 40 is the short.
20 by 40. Okay. Yeah, I don't even have a 40-meter space available anywhere to me because of and because it has to be level, and that's our big challenge. The barn where I am now is all hills, and they have an indoor arena that they've converted about a third of it to horse stalls and storage. So now I mean, I thought originally that was what I was going to use when I moved there and put my horse there, but because of all these modifications they've been doing, I can no longer use the indoor arena for this because it's just not big enough now. So I'm, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to find a place and to rent time and bring my horse there, bring my setup. I'm going to have to bring cinder blocks, bring markers of some kind. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what, it looks like I'm going to end up hauling somewhere. So,
So, Georgia, I want to encourage you to contact like me or Sarah in the future if that's something you want to do, and we will find you an arena closer to you that's already set up.
oh, you
Especially for
can?
the intro level, okay? Like we
Oh,
can look up like who is members in Pennsylvania around you and who will have a facility that's set up for 20 by 40. Like, cause you're riding an intro right now and you're gonna work up to basic, but right now you're riding intro, so you only need the 20 by 40. So we are saying we're gonna be here to help you find an arena that works for you, okay?
okay. That'd be awesome.
So I put my email in the contact. Did you see it up there or should I put it back in?
No, I saw it. Yeah, I wrote it down.
Okay.
It's
So
just, yeah.
email me when you need to video and we'll figure it out because I don't exactly know where you are.
I'm just south of York. So, I'm about 45 minutes from Dillsburg, where
Okay.
you said the Diamond 7 is.
Okay. So there are definitely like people in the area that have arenas set up that we can help you get towards, like to find to video. And I think some of this is what we're trying to do is just find a community. And then Lynn's point is finding relevant feedback. And I think that's a really important concept. Because
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
the traditional judges, like if they're not trained and if they're not curious, like I'm a traditional dressage rider, but I'm curious about it. So I've ridden at the World Show and I've trained horses in Western dressage. Like I've done this, but not everyone has. So like her point is it's not always relevant for us. So how do we make it more relevant for you all so that it's Western dressage feedback versus something that's not useful?
Mm-hmm.
And that is her point, and it's very fair. So we want to try to keep that fair to you going forward, okay? And for everyone else on here.
And even if you don't have the time or opportunity to show, especially I know sounds like there are some people who are just learning to show. If you have an opportunity just to go to a show and either volunteer or scribe or be a gate steward so you can watch the classes, you can hear from other riders the feedback. If you have opportunity to scribe, that's awesome because you'll get to hear some of the feedback that way. Or I know there's like there's our show. I mean, in terms of recognized show, there's our shows. I think there's a couple in New Jersey. There's one in Pennsylvania, April. The dressage for kids is at the 12th. at Bucks County Horse Park.
Yeah, I think so.
Ann Moss is judging, so they have a large R Western judge April 13th. So if you don't have the opportunity to, or you don't want to bring your horse to something like that show, but you're able to make it to go, especially if you've never shown before, it's a good experience for those who may be on here who haven't shown to get out there.
Oh, for Julie's question, Julie, I'm not sure, but I think if anyone has questions, like, please just contact me or Sarah.
I'll send it out to the PAWDA members and the email, so you can send it with whoever you need. Or they can contact me, or Lauren. They can email info@pawda.org or send a message via Facebook to us.
And we'll work to get Lynn on our board or in some capacity so that people can contact her directly too.
Works for me.
But okay, so I think I have some general things to talk about in the future, our equipment pieces, how to like evaluate feedback in the area. And I think the points program through WDAA and how to access it too are things we'll consider for the future to do another webinar. And to try to help people know more about how they can participate locally, even on a national level if they're doing it locally. And I think that was Lynn's big point, is you can do it like from the big deal in your backyard in a time frame that makes sense for you. And that's pretty impressive, right? So I think we'll keep thinking about that and talking about what we need to do to keep our registrations complete. Does that sound okay to everyone?